Welcome to Just an Average Fantasy Football Podcast.
Welcome in to the post-draft edition of Just an Average Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Hayes, with Matt Baker.
That's me.
You can find us at avgffpod.com. You can click the buttons there, go see us on the socials. You can find us on Spotify and Apple, and just about anywhere you can get a podcast. Also, we're on YouTube, and I'm currently working on trying to get us to where when we do this podcast, it'll be live. But apparently, if you've never gone live before on YouTube, the first time you try to go live, you have to wait 24 hours. So I don't know what that's about, but I was trying to make it happen this episode. I don't know if it's going to happen. It's more of about the sound. I don't know if the same sound that we use in the soundboard that we go through to record our podcast can also be the same sound that we use to record the video. Maybe it can all be used simultaneously. I don't know, but I'm going to look into it. So we'll see. But either way, trying to change some things up and get a little more
exposure.
There you go. That's the word.
That's the word, yeah.
Without us having to actually expose ourselves.
Well, maybe we need to create.
It is getting warmer out, so it's becoming summertime average.
We're getting there. Getting there.
I don't know if this is considered a beer of the week, but Baker brought me an Arizona premium spiked beverage. You know, Arizona that makes the Arizona teas. Well, they make a hard, real brewed iced tea, and this one's got peach in it, so it's pretty delicious.
Yeah, I'm liking it. It's got just enough twang without all the twang.
I wish it was a little bit sweeter.
Yeah, maybe a little,
just a little bit sweeter.
Just on the backside.
It's almost like it's unsweetened tea.
Yeah. Which that's probably why I like it. Honestly.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm used to good old Southern sweet tea. If it doesn't make my lips pucker, it's not sweet enough.
If you don't instantly get a toothache when you take a swallow, you know exactly what you're talking about.
But we're gonna go through some teams. We're gonna kind of talk about what we feel about what they did in the draft. Of course, we know about the big moves that were made with the Giants trading up and giving their future away to get Travis Hunter. Which, if it works, it works. Because if they do
Jaguars.
play. I'm sorry, the Jaguars, not the Giants.
I just didn't want to get too far into that.
My brain keeps saying Giants when I know the Giants are the ones that traded good later in the draft to get Jackson Dart.
Yeah, to get Dart. Yeah, they got back into the first.
Right.
Dart, yeah.
I will say that only 2 running backs went in the first. We know, obviously, Genty went to the Raiders early. I think it was 6 or 7, somewhere around there, wherever the Raiders picked. And then Omarion Hampton went, which I thought was a good spot to the Chargers. I mean, it pretty much
ruined everybody's Najee shares.
I think so too. I think at the beginning of the season, you're going to get value out of Najee, and if you're in a redraft or even in a dynasty, you need to, as soon as he has any sort of good, decent game, you need to get rid of him.
Yeah.
You need to move him as quick as possible. But there's no way they spend a first round draft capital on a running back and then they make him play behind Najee all season. Yeah. So, the other thing, was the wide receivers. I felt like the wide receivers went higher than I expected, especially like in the second round. There's guys I didn't really know about that was going in the second round. There's a couple that didn't get drafted. I was like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. They didn't even
it was like Isaiah Bond didn't even get drafted.
Yeah.
And he was kind of considered before the draft one of the top dudes.
Yeah, some of the top
obviously Shedeur Sanders falling to the 5th round. There's a lot being said on that. No one knows except that the reports came out that his interviews were not good.
Yeah.
Obviously the NFL, the teams passed on him for a while. Yeah. I don't think there's some big conspiracy. There's reports out there that there was like this big thing to try to block him, and it's like there's 32 different entities out there who are trying to win Super Bowls and make money. And if any of them thought Shedeur Sanders could be the piece that takes them, they wouldn't give a shit what anybody else wanted them to do. They would draft Shedeur Sanders.
Exactly, yeah.
So there's no team that's going to be like, yeah, we think this guy's a first round draft pick, but we're not going to draft him because everyone else said don't do it.
Yeah.
But it is interesting. My opinion on it is this: him and his father vastly overrated his talent in comparison with the headache that is perceived he's going to be.
Yeah.
With his dad and stuff like that. Just the perception of what they could or couldn't do as far as bringing drama to a team. It's like, if you're going to bring that kind of drama that the teams think you're going to bring, you better you have an ability that's worth it.
Yeah, that supersedes any drama you're going to bring into the locker room. I mean, this is a position. This is I'm going to say this one of the top most important positions.
It's the most position in all sports.
It's
starting quarterback.
This is a position where
as far as wins and losses,
you run everything out there on the field. You will eventually run it. There's going to come a time when you have to be the leader, and if you come in with this attitude where nothing you do is wrong,
right?
It's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way.
They were dictating. They were saying before the draft that there's certain teams they weren't going to allow him to play for, and I was like, bruh.
Yeah, it's
okay. When this has happened in the past, the players had the talent to back up them saying we're not going to do this. Everybody talks about Eli Manning, even John Elway when he refused. I forget who it was. He refused to go play for. But there's a couple things. You better either have the talent or you better have another job like Bo Jackson did.
Oh, yeah.
Bo Jackson's like, I'm not playing. And again, I can't remember who it was with him. I want to say it was the Colts. I think back then it might have been Baltimore Colts. But whoever it was, he said he told them flat out, if you draft me, I'm going to go play baseball.
Yeah, I'm
like,
not doing this.
Whatever. And they drafted him, and he's like, all right, I guess I'm going to go play baseball. And he did. And then John Elway also was similar. And then the whole thing with Eli Manning, where he said that he was not playing for the Chargers, and the Chargers drafted him, and then they basically did a swap of Phillip Rivers for Eli. So it just tells me that the NFL was like, you are drastically overestimating your own abilities.
Yep.
And your father is in your ear drastically overrating those abilities. Yep. For his own sake, I hope it was a humbling experience. I hope it ignites some sort of fire in him to know that he hasn't made it. Yeah. He is not guaranteed anything. And if he wants it, he better go get it. He has an opportunity to do that. Go to the Browns.
He's realistically got an easy road if he's as good as he thinks he is.
If he's as good as he says he is.
If he's as good as he thinks he is, he should start day one. We'll say that. Like, he should be able to get into that locker room and beat out. I mean, Flacco's a big talent. Don't get me wrong. He's there.
I mean, but he's like 974 in football years.
Exactly. He's aged.
And he's like 812 in human years.
Yes, just saying. And then you got Deshaun Watson, which is garbage can now. I mean,
and then they drafted the quarterback they drafted above him, Dylan Gabriel, who everyone says is an undersized, kind of a overachiever. So, I don't know a ton about Dylan Gabriel, but he's, I can tell you one thing. They're not going to start the season with all the quarterbacks they currently have on the roster.
Oh, yeah. Somebody's getting cut.
And it's going to either be Gabriel or Sanders.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to cut Flacco.
Yep. No, they can't. Or they might cut Pickett. I don't think they got much.
Yeah, you're right.
Pickett.
You're right. I forget about Pickett.
Little hands Pickett's there.
Yeah, but that's still, they're only going to ride with 3. So they could, I think Watson will start on the IR.
Yeah, Watson will be out there.
Yeah, so he'll be on the IR. So he won't be a roster spot. So we can go ahead and take him. So it really comes down to
it'll be Flacco, Pickett,
Gabriel, and Sanders.
They may drop Pickett back to like practice squad because I think he kind of fits that practice squad role.
Yeah, he does.
He's like, you know what I mean, like that.
Yeah,
he's got.
Most teams really only roll with 2, but because they drafted both of these guys,
yeah.
And if Shedeur shows, because Shedeur would be the likely cut because he's a 5th round pick and the money there is not.
Yeah, there's not anything really.
It's whatever, but and I don't think Gabriel's going to get cut. And I mean, I guess they could try to move Gabriel to the practice squad. I think if they try to move Shedeur to the practice squad, he'll get snatched.
Yeah.
Just because of the name and for the simple fact of he was thought to be a 1st round draft pick. So some team out there is going to be like, all right, he's been humbled now. Let's go pick him up off of waivers. Yeah. And so But it's going to be interesting to see how they do it. They also, since we're here, we might as well talk about them. They went and got Harold Fanning Jr. in the third round from Bowling Green. Some people considered him to be the third best tight end in this draft class.
Yeah.
So to get him in the third round, is interesting. Obviously, with Njoku there, I don't see Harold Fanning doing anything at least this season.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I could
barring
be wrong.
Obviously an injury.
Yeah, I could be wrong too, though. I think this year might be Njoku's last year, anyways. On his contract, so it might be like a preparation thing.
I may be wrong about this. I think he's got 2 years left, but I think the last year is voidable.
Okay, that might be what I have it mixed up with. But I mean, I'm just thinking that's kind of a smart play. Go ahead and grab a talented young tight end early enough that way you don't have to re-sign a big deal. You know, with all these contracts Kittle just re-signed for pretty damn big money.
It's funny. So I don't know all the details, but I was hearing on another podcast. So Kittle. So when Trey McBride did his contract, he was the highest paid tight end.
Yeah.
Well, Kittle is technically now the highest paid because of how much he's getting paid by year, but I think his last year's voidable. So for what they're gonna probably make, because I think McBride will end up making more total contract than what Kittle does, because I doubt. I mean, he's 32 now, and they just signed him to a 4-year deal.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah,
so I think I want to say the last 2 years of his contract might be voidable, but I know the last year is. So, and so I doubt that he sees it through. Whereas most likely McBride's going to see his
he's
full
still
contract.
Like 24 or something.
Yeah,
right?
he's super young and all that. But I just thought it was funny. I was just wondering. It was like, hey, I know I'm probably not going to make this money on the back end, but
let's make
it look where it looks like my yearly average is technically the highest paid tight end ever.
And that's what you got to worry about as a team too, in a situation like this where Njoku's super talented,
very talented.
Had he not had the injuries he sustained the last couple of years, I would see him in the top 6, top 7 of tight ends.
Well, I think that in quarterback play that he's also experienced in the last
team play in general.
Yeah.
but so to grab somebody like this in the third round that could potentially be a replacement without having to dump huge capital onto. Especially unless your team turns around, it's a lot of work that still needs to be done there.
Absolutely.
And to keep talking about them too, Judkins, running back.
Oh yeah, how I skipped past him. Quinshon Judkins coming in. He's thought to be the replacement to Chubb. Chubb's currently not on the roster.
Yeah.
And so there was talks that they may re-sign him, but this might be them saying, no, we're not re-signing Chubb.
Yeah,
Judkins, they got him in the second round, the 36th pick overall. So, a lot of people thought Judkins might go in the first round. So to get him when they did, I think that just tells a lot about what they're planning on doing. They got a ton of draft capital from not the Giants,
the Jaguars.
The Jaguars, yeah. This was one of those picks. The Judkins pick was one of those.
Still got a first for next year too.
They got Mason. No, that's a tight end. I was thinking of Mason Taylor, our defensive tackle, Mason Graham. But anyway, so they got Judkins. I think Judkins is going to start from the jump.
Day one. I mean, because I've been a fan of Ford, but it's more like an underdog story.
Yeah, Ford's just a guy. He's like a try. He's a try-hard dude. There's nothing special.
Nothing super special about him.
But he's going to show up every play.
You give him bulk carries, he's going to be consistent, and he's just a guy where Judkins can come out here and
he could be a game breaker,
run the backfield, and just be the guy. So
exactly,
I like it. I think that a lot of people, from what I'm reading and everything, in a lot of the fantasy groups and stuff that I'm in and all this, a lot of people are sleeping on him a little bit. They like the placement, but there's still so many Ford believers. And
well, I think the other side of that coin also is the fact that it's Cleveland, and there's this taste for Cleveland and the aura, like you said, that's a good word, the aura of that organization right now.
Everything that they've gone through the last couple of years,
there's a lot of stink on them.
Yeah, a lot of stank on it. Yeah.
So we'll talk about the Panthers. I thought the Panthers had a really good draft. I thought they got real good value to get Tedero McMillan at the 8th pick. It was definitely a surprise. There was zero chatter about the Panthers.
You still called it though, so I mean, it wasn't.
I did. I will say when it happened, I didn't want it to happen. We were playing. We were here playing
that's
darts.
What brought it up. You were like,
and they were on the clock,
this.
And I was like, I have a bad feeling they're going to take Tedero McMillan, but I don't want it. And then, sure enough, they took him.
They took him. Yep.
But having had some time to reflect, I went and watched more film. My issue with McMillan is I was worried about his ability to create space in the NFL. But I would say he has elite ball skills. Mm-hmm. Like I didn't just watch his highlights. I tried to go watch as much tape as I could find that wasn't just his highlight reel.
Yeah. And you want to see where they fuck up just as much as when they do good.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what really makes a player, how they fix a fuck up or how they handle a fuck up. Yeah.
And I couldn't find the interview. I mean, maybe I didn't dig hard. I couldn't find the interview where he said he didn't watch film. So my thinking is that was like a freshman, sophomore McMillan who said that.
Yeah.
But his ball skills, his ability to go up and fight for the ball, his route running is really good. He does not have breakaway speed. He is not a speed guy, but he will fight for the ball. He'll post up and he has really good hands. He has really good ability to go get the ball. And so I like it. I especially in this offense, the way they scheme guys open and whatnot. So it's going to be interesting. I think him being a consensus top 10 pick and going in the top 10 makes me feel good. I don't feel like the Panthers reached. I think most experts thought that he was worth the pick. And generally, if that's the case, it's good. It's when you reach for guys like John Ross or, Jalen Reagor, that these guys will bust because they reach for guys that everybody's like, why are they drafting this guy? Henry Ruggs.
Yeah.
They reach so and nobody sees it coming. But with McMillan, everybody's like, yeah, that's where he should have been drafted. So, I feel better about it now. I think he is an actual true outside alpha receiver, and I think he's going to start that way. I think number one is the 8th overall pick. These are things you have to take into consideration. I can't think about Leggett in the same light that I think about McMillan because Leggett was a late first. I think he was actually early second, like one of the top first 2 picks in the second, because the trade with the Bills. But maybe they traded up to the Bills were like the 31st pick that year. So either way, it was somewhere around that. And so it's easier when a guy's drafted that late to be like, not try to get him
overall.
32nd. Okay.
It was the last
to not try to get, they traded with the Chiefs. That's right.
Yeah.
But to try to not get him the ball and stuff like that. But when you draft a guy 8th overall, it's like, nope, he's going to fucking play. And we're going to see what he's made of. We're going to see really fucking quick.
Well, I'll tell you this, like from the little bit of tape I saw from him, I mean, I'm not like super, super, super impressed. Like I feel like he's going to be the best, but I will say size wise and hands wise and the way he fights the way he carries himself on his routes and when he goes to get the ball and all, he reminded me a little bit of Mike Evans.
Yes.
So I was kind of curious. He's almost identical in size. Mike Evans was drafted 7th overall in the 2014 class.
Yeah.
They're similar in draft class. Mike Evans was a little slower. He ran a 4.53 where this guy ran a 4.48. So
I don't think McMillan ran a 4.4. I thought he ran like a 4.61. Unless it was a pro day. He didn't run. I don't think he ran at the combine. But I may be wrong.
Let me double check.
I mean, if he ran a 4.48 at the then I could have swore
he
that
garnished a significant attention, including a 4.48 40-yard dash at his pro day.
Okay.
At pro day. So, and that's like I said, it's a little faster than Mike Evans.
It is if it's legit. Pro days are a little hard, but either way,
it's still probably pretty close.
Around a 4.5.
Yeah, because Mike Evans was at the combine for his rookie. As far as his rookie when he was getting drafted and all that stuff. So it's just there's similarities there, like hand size.
Oh, absolutely.
And
yeah. That was definitely one of the top persons.
So.
I hope he's more durable than Mike.
Mike Evans.
Mike Evans. Yeah,
Evans, not Williams.
Yeah.
Evans.
Okay. Yes, I do love.
That's where my comparison is that not with Williams. Williams is definitely not durable at all. But Mike Evans, like I said, I'm not saying but I'm just saying comparable.
Yeah.
I think if you can get 12 years at 70% of what Mike Evans was, I think that's a huge score.
Oh yeah,
for the Panthers, as far as that's concerned, because that's what Mike Evans is at right now, going into his 12th year as a top 5.
Dude, if he turns into a 70% of Mike Evans, I'll be pretty happy.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so at the
not
pick
stats.
And all that,
like, I don't want him to only get 70% of Mike Evans. Stats.
No. I'm just
talking about ability.
Like, overall, like if you can get 10 years out of this guy at 70% of what Mike Evans did in 10 years, that's what you need. That's still pretty good. I mean,
Then they drafted a couple edge rushers they desperately needed. I liked both of those guys. I thought they got good value on them. And then they went Trevor Etienne in the 4th. Etienne is a smaller kind of change of pace back. I think he's got a chance to come out of camp as the not the direct backup, that'll be Dowdle, but to be the change of pace, because Dowdle and Chuba are very similar, and I think that he could come in. And Etienne could come in and be kind of like a fresh legs kind of firecracker, type running back.
I didn't see a lot about him. I mean, of course, he's got name recognition because he's what Travis Etienne's younger brother or whatever. But I mean, I kind of feel like it could also be played in that how they keep using these running backs in different positions like slot or they play them at the wide out kind of deal just to draw coverage or whatever. I mean, it might be kind of cool to see him out there just mingling, I guess, just involved in the offense and in general. But fantasy wise, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot.
No, I don't. Not this year. No.
Yeah.
They went and got Mitchell Evans in the fifth. I thought that was a good pick. Mitchell Evans dealt with a lot of injury in college, so he was thought to be a top tight end, but he just battled so many injuries. So obviously that hurt his stock in the draft. And then Jimmy Horn Jr. I didn't know a ton about him. I know he went to Colorado. He played with Shedeur. But I went and watched it. Dude's great with the ball. He's great. I think they got him more as a kick returner, but he could be another person that you bring in and throw some little screens to, give him the ball in the backfield.
Like a Jamal Agnew or something like that. Where mostly special teams, but still out there on offense here and there.
Right. Again, I don't expect him to be anything for fantasy, unless he completely takes off.
Unless you get kick return yards, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. But I think as a football player, it's going to be pretty nice.
Yeah.
All right, so from there we'll move on to the Bears. I thought the Bears had a pretty good draft overall. They took Colson Loveland in the first. That was a bit of a surprise to take him at 10. He was the first tight end off the board. A lot of people thought Ward was going to be. They just paid Kmet.
Yeah.
And then they went and drafted Loveland. So initially my thought was, well, maybe they're going to run some 2 tight end sets, but then in the second round, they drafted Luther Burden, the third.
Yeah.
Which I looking at the depth chart, when Olamide Zaccheaus is your third wide receiver.
Oh yeah. No,
drafting another guy in the second.
Yeah, you're going to need something. Yeah.
And I also feel like at 10, they were probably looking at McMillan. And then McMillan went at 8.
He went, that's true. Yeah.
And so they're like, we need a pass catcher.
Where we go? Yeah.
I do like Loveland. Loveland is a move tight end for sure. Somebody's going to be playing all over the field. He'll be playing the slot. They may even play him out wide on some plays, and then he'll play the true tight end position. He's far more athletic than Kmet, and he definitely has the potential to be a Laporta type or better. If they use him, it's just, why did you pay Kmet and then draft another tight end? So I don't, what it's going to be the battle of what's more important to them, the draft capital or the checks that they wrote.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. And then that was basically it as far as they did get I don't know a lot about this guy, but there are people who love him. Kyle Monangai. They got him in the 7th round. I never even care about 7th round running backs.
Yeah, no.
Because if Kyle Monangai comes out and runs for 2,000 yards this season, guess what? They're not paying him anything. So if they get an opportunity to draft a top end running back next year, Monangai's done.
Yep.
Yeah,
you won't even see him next year.
Yeah, like I any running backs after the 4th round, I just don't really care about, because even if I'll care about them in season if they're doing good. But
if
after
it's like
the season,
redraft or you pick them up or something,
but even in Dynasty, it's like after, I was worried about Tyron Tracy this year for that reason too. He's a late round pick. It's just because there's no investment by the team for the most part, and they'll just go get somebody better if they have the opportunity. So, but so that's the Bears, and so from there, let's go to the Bengals. I thought. I will say with the Bengals, I thought that was their draft was a good win for all the Chase, the running back,
Chase Brown.
There it is. For anybody who's got Chase Brown, because I was worried they were going to take a running back. They had a couple top 30 visits from running backs, but they didn't really do anything until the 6th round when they got Taj Brooks. I'm not worried about Chase Brown. I think it's time to let Chase eat.
Yeah, Chase is going to eat this year.
Yeah, so I'm as somebody who's got him, I was trying to deal him. I'm glad no one took my offers.
I tried to send you offers. You just
you were sending you were sending me a wide receiver straight up. You were trying to give me Ayuk straight up for Chase Brown.
Oh yeah, I did try that.
I did. I'm not trying to deal. I'm not trying to deal one problem for another.
So. I did try that. I remember that. And then you kindly reminded me that the league that was in, that's absurd. So I get it.
That was absurd.
I get it. Yeah.
So the Cowboys, man, they really went and got them skill positions early. Oh no, they didn't.
They didn't do any of that.
You know, it's funny. I will say this. They drafted Tyler Booker at guard, and I don't know the last names of the other two, but they will have 3 starting linemen if Tyler Booker starts with the first name Tyler.
Oh, wow. So it's the Dallas Tyler Cowboys then.
Yeah. But they didn't do anything on offense until they got Jadon Blue in the 5th round. He is somebody, again, I just said I don't care about running backs after the 4th round, but late in dynasty drafts, if he's available, I take a shot just because of their depth chart on Jadon Blue. And I will say this as a dynasty owner or a dynasty manager, if Jadon Blue does anything remotely good in season, I will be dealing him away wherever I got him immediately following his good week because he's a 5th round pick. And I will be trying to get as much as I can for him in that time. They also got Phil Mafah. I don't know. Phil Mafah sounds like I'm waiting for the joke, like Phil McCracken.
Yeah, well, I think that's what Deshaun Watson says when he's getting his massages. It's Phil Mafah.
That sounds about right. Running back out of Clemson, they got him in the 7th round, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And so there's that for the Cowboys. Once again, not really doing anything skill position wise in the draft. So the Broncos made one of the most interesting picks. They, by a lot of people's estimation, they reached in the 2nd round to take R.J. Harvey from UCF. And the reason that it's interesting is because Sean Payton's only drafted 4 running backs in the top 100 in his entire coaching career. Obviously, it was Kamara. Then it was the guy that I was telling you about last time. I can't remember his name.
Was it Devin Bush?
No, it was Reggie Bush.
Reggie Bush. So
yeah, Devin Bush is a linebacker.
I was thinking Devin Hester. I don't know. I had Devin Hester in my head.
But you got me where I needed to get to.
Yeah, I got you.
So Reggie Bush was one of them. I can't remember the other one, but he was also pretty decent. And then, of course, R.J. Harvey. So, you know, the idea of that is to say that maybe Sean Payton's got an eye for a running back. So that's why he reached for R.J. Harvey, but it makes him interesting. He's somebody that he's moving into the 1st round in a lot of dynasty drafts just because of his opportunity there. He doesn't really have the size that you would think to be a every down back, so I still think he's going to be running as a committee back. Probably not with McLaurin, but who's the other one that's there?
You said McLaughlin. Estime.
Yeah, Audric Estime and him will probably be splitting carries.
Yeah, they're all. I mean, he's the biggest one. Audric Estime is on the team right now, as far as running backs concerned. But they're all slightly undersized, like is what you would want for a big.
Nobody there is like a hammer.
Exactly. They're all just kind of. They're just running backs.
Yeah.
You know, there's nobody that's like, oh, this guy's the dude. But you know,
they went and got a guy named Pat Bryant in the out of Illinois in the 3rd round. Never heard of him. Sounds like a dude who should do my taxes. So I have to do some research on that. But a 3rd round pick for a wide receiver, that's fairly substantial. So somebody you probably want to look into in dynasties. And then in the last round, they got most likely a blocking tight end and Caleb Lohner.
4.61 was this 40.
The wide receiver, yeah. Pat Bryant. That sounds like a Pat Bryant 40.
Oh, that was interesting.
Yeah.
Must be an update.
Probably. Let's see.
I mean, they say his comparisons or everything are like Michael Thomas and shit. So.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, I mean, 6'2", 201. I mean,
so he's a slot receiver, but don't tell Michael Thomas that.
Yeah, don't tell him that at all.
All right, so let's look at the Lions. The Lions, they like to do interesting stuff in the draft, and this year they kept it going. They drafted Isaac Tesla in the 3rd round. Most people projected Tesla to be like a 5th round pick. They traded up with Jacksonville to get the pick, and so. You know, who knows? They're running with a different offensive coordinator there, so we'll see how that plays out. But this is kind of their style. They do unconventional things during the draft, and so this is what they did. They went defensive tackle, guard of the first 2 picks, and then they're like, "Hey, let's go get this wide receiver that everybody says we could probably get in the 5th round if we wait." But
just go and grab him, so we know we got him.
Yeah. And then they grabbed another wide receiver, Dominic Lovett from Georgia, in the 7th. But nothing too crazy from the Lions, and as far as that goes. All right, the Green Bay Packers, they made history.
Yep.
For for the first time in, I don't know, 473 years, I think is what I heard.
Similar to that. Yeah.
They took a wide receiver in the first round. They took Matthew Golden, the round 1, pick 23 out of Texas, the fast outside receiver. Some people thought that some quote experts had him as their number 1 wide receiver in this draft class over McMillan. I didn't think that. I think that I think the offense that Texas runs is a chuck it downfield type offense, and I think he excelled in that because he is lightning. So I don't view him as a true. I think he's going to just be I think he's just going to be another decent wide receiver in a room full of decent wide receivers with nobody that's the guy.
Nobody's just lighting it up out there and just taking over.
Yeah, but we'll see. That he'll be the only one in that room that's got first round draft capital, though.
That is true.
So maybe he'll get a little bit more opportunity to be the dude. I'll tell you a pick that I did like too was their 3rd round pick of Savion Williams. I didn't really know a lot about him when I saw them pick him in the 3rd round. I was like, let me go check this guy out, and I liked his film a lot out of TCU. And so that's going to be interesting to watch there. And he's got that 3rd round capital. So he's somebody that, again, if you can get into the 3rd or 4th rounds of your dynasty rookie drafts, and he's still there, maybe somebody you want to take a flyer on. And then that was basically it for offensive weapons. But, they did go with a couple wide receivers, which means somebody's getting cut because they've already got a ton, and so.
Like you said, they got a ton of just wide receivers. Like they don't have anybody that's like super elite, so it's going to be tough to know who's going to be
right, and then who are they going to cut? And so all right, and so we'll see how that shakes out in camp for them. So let's see. Next one on the list is the Houston Texans, talking about going after wide receivers. In the 2nd round, they went for Jaden Higgins. I like Jaden Higgins a lot. I think that that he is somebody that could go in there and with what's going on with Tank Dell and stuff, I think he could go in there and really he could steal a starting role in that offense. Opposite, obviously, of Nico Collins. He's built a lot like Nico Collins. He's 6'4", 214 pounds. He's just a big body dude, and he ran a 4.47. So. He's very athletic, and he was really good for Iowa State, I should say. So we'll see how that goes. He's definitely somebody I've been trying to target in rookie drafts because I really think the offense really missed that other receiver last year with Nico also dealing with injuries. I mean, they dealt with a lot of injury too, but they just didn't have that next guy that was going to come in there and really help that passing game.
Noah Brown can only do so much, man. Like he can only be as much of a guy as he is. And
right. And on that note, too, in the 3rd round, they went with Jalen Noel. We talked about him before the draft. He was one of my quote sleeper picks. He's somebody that I liked a lot, also out of Iowa State. So they took 2 guys, teammates out of Iowa State, which is crazy. And so we could be looking at Nico Higgins and Noel out there.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Tank Dell's going to get on the field this year. So it's not looking good.
He probably shouldn't. I mean, this is 2 years back to back. He's had substantial injuries.
Catastrophic.
And he came back after the first one, and I didn't know he didn't look bad, but then he just got destroyed again. So who knows how long it'll last this time. So.
Yeah. Let's see. And then they drafted a guy named Woody Marks in the 4th round. Never heard of him, but he was out of USC.
He's kind of old too. He's 24 years old.
Yeah.
5'10",
well, that was the other thing I should have mentioned about RJ Harvey. RJ Harvey is, as far as age, is old as balls.
Yeah.
He is from Atlanta, though. That's interesting. Woody Marks is.
Yeah.
5'10", 207, but it says he ran a 4.54. So. We'll see. I don't think you're taking Mixon's job this year, so I don't know if he probably will fight with Pierce to get that backup position. Who's the running back that Austin played every week?
Agumbawale.
Yeah, Agumbawale.
Yeah,
is he even still? Is he still there?
He is.
I'm going to buy Austin an Agumbawale jersey.
He's listed as 3rd on the depth chart right now too. So
then Luke Lachey was drafted in the 7th round out of Iowa. There's your Iowa tight end.
I'm telling you, if you want a sleeper pick, anytime you want a sleeper pick,
it's Luke Lachey.
You have to go after tight ends from Iowa, man. I'm gonna go get him everywhere.
He's most definitely on waivers.
He's everywhere. I got a couple taxi squad spots I can throw him on.
All right, let's go on to the Indianapolis Colts. Let's see. Well, of course, they went Tyler Warren in the first round. I love the pick, to be honest. The problem I have with Tyler Warren is who's going to be throwing you the fucking ball.
Yeah.
Because they also drafted later in this draft, they drafted Riley Leonard out of Notre Dame. And Riley Leonard is the same as what they got, a guy with athletic ability who has terrible accuracy. So they have 3 quarterbacks who are all at different levels of like really good athleticism. Obviously, Anthony Richardson is far and above better than Daniel Jones and Riley Leonard, but in their own right, Riley Leonard and Daniel Jones can hold their weight, as far as being athletic and being able to use their legs in the run game. But they are all like when Daniel Jones is considered your most accurate quarterback on your roster, you've got issues.
That's pretty terrible. Yeah. I mean, it could shock us all, and they could go after and fucking get Aaron Rodgers for a season.
that would light the world on fire if Aaron Rodgers went to the Colts.
I'm just saying there are worse quarterback rooms.
Oh God, that would light the fantasy world on fire, bro. I hope it happens.
It would be hilarious. It'd be great. It'd be good times. We could say we lived through that.
For 2 reasons. Number one, Pittsburgh did nothing for quarterback. I mean, they did get Will Howard, but still, they did nothing for quarterback. And this, I still think they believe Aaron's coming there. And if he just turns heel and goes to the Colts, so that means Anthony Richardson's dead, Daniel Jones is dead.
Yep,
one of those guys getting cut.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be Daniel Jones.
God,
Danny Dimes will go to Pittsburgh.
I hope you speak it into existence. Yes,
that would be insane. And then they pick up Danny Dimes off of waivers.
Oh man,
because he gets cut.
No, they just trade him straight up for a second-round draft pick.
You think they'll get that much out of him?
They're that desperate there. But yeah, so that's my biggest issue with Tyler Warren. But we'll see. Hopefully, he can get some targets. And then they went and got DJ Giddings, who dude's fast. I mean, I thought he would be drafted higher, but he got drafted in the 5th round. So again, he's just a flyer. He's obviously going to be playing behind Jonathan Taylor. So, but Jonathan Taylor does get hurt. Yeah. So you could see him. You could see some action. And then that's basically all they did offensive weapon wise. Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay, I was trying to think who there was somebody that the Colts picked up running back wise behind but it's just Khalil Herbert. So
yes, just Khalil Herbert.
I was like, wait, who was it? I just saw the other day was on. I didn't realize that they had gotten him,
you're telling me news now.
Yeah, I knew it was somebody, but it's Khalil Herbert. He's actually listed behind Taylor right now.
Well, yeah, I can imagine.
But I mean, I just knew it was a name that we knew, like a household name kind of deal. But yeah, I don't think there's not much to come from it. So
Jacksonville made a big trade. I don't remember all the parts of it, but I know they traded they swapped first this year, and they traded the next year first, and I think this year's second.
It was this year's second.
Yeah, they spent a lot of draft capital to move up and get Travis Hunter with the number 2 overall pick. Now, I personally think it's worth the number 2 overall pick. Travis Hunter is. He's one of the best football players to come out in the draft in a very long time, and if they do utilize him on both sides of the ball, then they effectively got 2 top draft picks in one player.
Yeah, exactly.
I think wide receiver is his best position, but that's like saying, that a Lamborghini's prettier than a Ferrari. I mean, both of them are really nice. Yeah. Okay. So his cornerback is, had he been just one or the other, he still would have been a top 5 pick.
Yeah.
Had he just been a wide receiver or just been a corner, he'd been a top 5 pick.
Exactly.
So that's how good this dude is. So we'll see. It's going to be awesome seeing him out there opposite of
Brian Thomas
Jr. and seeing what they can do. And maybe this will be what Trevor Lawrence needs to put him over get him over the hill. Yeah, to finally start for him to start achieving some of his potential and expectations of when he came out, because he's just kind of been a little bit better than a Daniel Jones, to be honest. Well,
and also too, they've paid top receiver money to middle receiver talents,
in the past, for sure,
and going and getting the Christian Kirks,
and then they Zay
Jones.
They have had bad coaching there.
Yeah, it's been a mixture of just catastrophe, and maybe they're finally getting pieces together.
Yeah,
That are
say what you want to say about Duval or however you said it.
Oh, it's worse than that, but yeah, we get it.
The head coach that's there now, he did do great with Baker Mayfield last year, and so if he can create a scheme that gets the most out of Trevor Lawrence as well as he did with Baker, then we'll see, because I think like physically, Trevor's a better physical quarterback than Baker Mayfield.
Oh yes. Well, he has more threat with his legs than Baker really ever has, honestly.
Yeah, I would say so. He doesn't use it a lot, but yeah,
he doesn't. Like when he does, it's super effective.
Right, but I think he's got a stronger arm. He's definitely taller. He's more prototypical. So if it's just between the ears and it's between it's in the heart.
And the rest of the talent around it too.
Around
like
him,
they're doing the right thing. They're building this to where I mean they made a couple other picks,
they went and got who I thought was a really good pick and real good value, Bashaw Tootin in the 4th round.
Yep.
To add to that running back room. Bashaw Tootin could effectively within this season take that job.
Yeah.
There's no solidified starter in that room. They got Etienne, who has been good but is not very efficient, and then the other young
Bigsby.
Thank you. I'm so glad you're here because my brain is. I was like, man, I hope he knows, because I could not think of names.
See,
like I drew a complete blank.
So I spend most of my time outside of the podcast just memorizing football player names and what teams they play for. That's all I do.
And I apparently spend most of my time smoking dope and wiping my brain out. I don't know what it is. Like I need to go back to that stuff Bus told me to get. I need to get on that stuff again. I need to try.
Ginkgo biloba or something.
Yeah, no, that's the stuff I said. He actually texted me about some stuff. I can't remember now. I have to go dig into the text messages. But I actually bought it and then I lost it. So if you can imagine that.
Makes total sense.
So I have it somewhere, but I don't know where the hell it is.
It makes sense.
I took it for like 2 days and then I'm like, where the hell did it go? But my brain was completely blank on the running back room at Jacksonville. But I knew there wasn't a star there.
I got it all.
Thank you.
Well, and honestly, weirdly enough, like I've never been a super huge on Etienne, and then he kind of proved me wrong there for a minute. He was like, oh shit, I'm eating crow because this guy's doing it, and then it just went back to what I kind of.
If you go and look at the raw numbers in the year that he was good, he still wasn't that efficient.
It was
a lot of volume.
Touchdowns
and
touchdowns.
He had that 6-week stretch where he got 2 touchdowns almost every game.
And
that like shot him up.
And that's where I was like, I was eating crow because I was like, okay, so maybe he's the dude. I'm sorry I said anything, and then all of a sudden, like 2 weeks later, it's like, wait a second, who the fuck is this guy? Like,
in that league that you're in now, the not another dynasty.
Yeah.
I traded 4. I can't remember what it was. I can't remember the pieces, but I traded a new guy came into the league.
Yeah.
I traded 4 Travis Etienne from him.
Yeah.
And then he started wanting something else, and I started explaining to him about the running back market in that league.
Yeah.
And then he wanted Etienne back, and I ended up trading Etienne back to him, and I made more from him. Yeah, I did the whole Kevin Costner draft day, man.
Hell yeah. Hey, that's what it's about, man. Get out there and get it.
There were people in the chat like, wait a minute, you're going to tell me that you traded this guy away and then you traded back? I was like, hey, this sometimes works like that.
Yep.
I didn't know this guy from Adam. I was just working deals, man.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to
Bashaw Tootin.
Yeah, Bashaw Tootin. I like Bigsby.
Yeah.
I think if given the opportunity, Bigsby can be the dude there. But what I'm saying about Tootin is he's also good, and there's not a 0%. I mean, there's a decent chance that he could become very fantasy viable this year as well, if not next year.
And anytime we're all on a scavenger hunt for like the next best team name. Yeah. And anytime you can use Tootin, oh man,
or even Bashal, there's got to be something. Bashal.
Yeah. No, it could definitely work out. I
got to tell you about my new team name when I got Genty.
Okay.
I want to know how good it is because I saw another guy use Ashton in the name. I can't remember what it was. I thought that was cool too.
Yeah,
but I went with killing them Genty.
I saw it coming as soon as you said killing them. Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, that's good. I like that.
So wherever there's another league, I think I got the 101. I'm gonna double up on the killing them Genty.
Yeah,
but yeah, so Tootin's definitely up there.
That's what I'm saying. It's one of those names where you may not have nothing right now, but if you go ahead and get them on your team, you'll come up with something. Yes. You'll be just driving and all of a sudden it'll go like a freaking awakening and you'll just be like, boom, like I did with Boykin one time. Like when
Boykin, your mom.
Yeah, it was Boykin, your mom. That's my team name.
My favorite forever will always be any team name with Lutz.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Where it's like I was
My sweaty Lutz.
I said something like, because I had Drew Brees and Lutz, and it was something along the line of Brees Lutz.
Yeah, it was
instead of D's nuts.
Yes,
it was
Brees Lutz. Yeah,
yeah,
I love that. Was a great one.
Yeah.
The Lutz one will always be one of my favorites.
That's definitely a good one.
We might do an episode one time of just dumbass fucking fantasy names.
Fantasy names. I've had a couple.
LaQuint Allen was taken out of Syracuse in the last round. Never heard of him. So
yeah.
But yeah, I thought Jacksonville was bold, and I will absolutely like this. Anybody puts their nuts on the table, you push all your chips in the middle. That's what Jacksonville did. Yeah. I wouldn't have done what Jacksonville did. I thought they gave up way too much draft capital to go get Hunter. But if it pays off, then it is. And you know what? Very few people are great who sit on their hands.
Yeah.
You know, so I commend them for that.
To give 2 first-round picks for a potential 2 first-round pick player,
yeah,
and then just a second to move up. I mean, realistically, it doesn't seem like it would be that bad. Like you said, if it works out for you, if it works out for them and everything.
All right, so we'll go to the Chiefs. The Chiefs didn't do a ton. They did grab one of my other guys that I liked, Jalen Royals, out of Utah State in the 4th round. He's going to be interesting. There is room in that quarterback room for somebody to step up. I still believe in Hollywood Brown. That could be a little bit of a take lock because I took him in a lot of places a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And so I'm still like, he's like my Rashad Bateman. I'm still in the same. I'm like, I think these guys can be good. I don't want to let them go yet. You know?
Well, and I will tell you this, I'd say in the last I'm going to say 3 years, just to keep it kind of, I know for a fact. In the last 3 years, we all kind of get this inflated sense of wide receiver fury for the Chiefs. Anytime they go draft somebody and everybody's like, oh, we got to get them because they need somebody. And it ends up being like not like it's.
Well, ever since Tyreek left, they're just like, all right, we're not going to throw, Mahomes like, I'm not going to throw 50 touchdowns anymore.
Well, and we're only going to throw to everybody 100 times. We're not going to throw to one person 100 times.
There's that. And then there's also the fact that when Tyreek was ill their defense was a doo-doo and they had to score 35 every game. Now they can get away with scoring 17.
Yeah. And it's so I can't, like, even though I appreciate his skills at wide receiver and for fantasy wise, I'm so nervous about jumping because I jumped on the Sky Moore and I jumped on
he's nobody I'm reaching for.
That's what I'm saying. Like you get this inflated sense in your head, and that
offense isn't an offense that I'm like, oh, I got to get a piece of that.
Exactly.
It used to be, but it's not anymore.
That's what I'm saying. Like the last 3 years, like every time they draft a wide receiver, we're like, this guy's going to be the guy. We got to get him, and then it's just.
Well, it was the whole idea in fantasy.
Discouraging.
When you have a perceived offense that's going to be really good, you want a piece of it.
Oh yeah, you definitely want to be involved.
And there was a while there for the Chiefs where you wanted a piece of that offense,
no matter who it was,
even if it was their 4th wide receiver. Exactly. You're like, I just want him here in case one of the other guys gets hurt.
Mecole Hardman,
Mecole Hardman had a great life as being on rosters, even though he never did anything.
He's not done nothing really. Yeah. He's had 2 games in his career, and I think one was in the Super Bowl. It wasn't even fantasy viable,
right? And so you were always trying to get a little bit, and now, like you said, that's not an offense that I care. Like I only want the main pieces.
Yeah,
but I will take a shot on Royals if it's value or if I'm not reaching.
Oh yeah.
But you're right. It's not anybody I'm going to be like, oh my god, I got to get this guy. He's going to be amazing.
Until fantasy or until training camp comes out, and they're like, this guy's the one.
He's running with the ones. That's my favorite.
Rasheed's not coming back.
Dude, my favorite thing that people say was when they see him in camp is like, oh, so-and-so's been running with the ones all day. Okay.
I get it. Yeah. But they don't tell you that he was playing the defensive side of the ball just to be a guy out there.
The ones, All right. The Raiders. I thought the Raiders had a really good draft. They went and got Ashton Jeanty. Number one, they needed a running back. I think the Raiders are going to be sneaky. Pete Carroll is not a, disorganized, weird, like kind of whatever coach. He's somebody who comes in, he creates structure. He's a player's coach. He creates an atmosphere and people want to play for him. And then Chip Kelly, as a head coach, is kind of a D-bag. I mean, he's still kind of a D-bag, but he's a good offensive mind.
Yeah.
And being that Pete Carroll will always be in charge, he'll help temper whatever Chip Kelly wants to get out of pocket with. So they went and got Ashton Jeanty. He's going to be utilized in that offense very well. I think he's going to be absolutely dominant. And then they got Jack Besh in the 2nd round. I thought was good value. Some people thought that Besh was like a fringe late first, well early second type receiver. So, to get him where they got him at the 58th overall pick, I thought was pretty good. And then, of course, they went and did other stuff with good players as far as a corner and a couple tackles and
some tackles. That the linemen and stuff. It's pretty important from what we saw last year with any of the quarterbacks that started. We're just getting eaten up. So
yes, and one thing we know is if you go look at the history of Pete Carroll led teams, they do really good in the draft. They got Russell Wilson in like the 4th round, I think. Cam Chancellor
might have been a little later than that, though.
Yeah, Chancellor was a late round pick at safety, so he has a really good eye for talent. And so I'm really interested in what the Raiders are doing in that culture. And this is an offense I'm trying to get pieces of. If I can get some Jacoby Myers, you got to start looking at the pieces that are accessible. Obviously, Jack Besh is accessible because you can get him, in the second, maybe even the 3rd round of some of your rookie drafts. Jacoby Myers could be accessible. You're not going to be able to get Brock Bowers. You're not going to be able to get Genty.
Yeah,
but you can find pieces of it.
Unless you're going after that in the first round,
unless you have the picks or whatever. But I'm just saying, as far as if you're trying to get pieces and you don't already have the access to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Raiders to me are somebody that's on the upswing, and I like a couple of the offensive weapons they got in that. And then so let's move on to the Chargers.
This was an interesting draft for me. I know they need a lot. There's some stuff missing, and I mean, I felt like we saw Herbert kind of take a little bit of a step back this year as far as fantasy production, and because the team was kind of falling apart.
Until they opened up. Like at the beginning of the season, it happened like we thought. They were trying to run the ball. They were throwing the ball under 25 times a game. It was the same old. And then they're like, you know what? Fuck it. And then they're throwing the ball 30 plus times a game. And finally, Herbert starts emerging, and some of their pass catchers start emerging. Even Quentin Johnson started emerging.
Quentin Johnson and stuff.
Yeah. And so, what we got to figure out was that a product of the fact that their defense wasn't as good as they thought they wanted to be, and their run game wasn't as good as they wanted it to be, so they took the lid off the passing game.
Yeah.
And now this year, they're going to go back to what they do, throwing the ball under 25 times around the game. And their draft says they're going to go back to what they want to do. They want to run the ball.
Even pre-draft. I mean, they went out and got Mike Williams back. They went out and signed Najee Harris in the offseason. They got a running back, not this pass-catching back that they traditionally had, I feel, in the last few years. And then, like you said, with the draft.
And then they went and got Amarian Hampton with the 22nd overall pick. Amarian Hampton is an everything back.
Yeah. And so he's that. The other part, that, and then
they went and got Trey Harris in the 2nd round, who Trey Harris could come out of camp as the number 2. He could overtake Quentin Johnson. That's how good he is projected to be. And the other side is that most people don't feel that Ladd McConkey is a true, like a 1 or a 2. They think he's more of a slot kind of receiver, and he's not an outside guy. So it could be that Trey Harris and Quentin Johnson, and Ladd McConkey are those 3. But the thing is what is this offense going to be? Are they going to do like they did towards the end of last year? Are they going to throw the ball 30 plus times a game? Or are they going to revert back to what Harbaugh historically has done with what's his name as the offensive coordinator? And are they going to go back to throwing under 25 times a game? And if that's the case, then it's like, all right, well, it's Ladd McConkey and Amarian Hampton are the only 2 pieces I might want a piece of because because I don't know if there's going to be able to support any other pass catchers. So it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. And we'll see who's running with the ones whenever it comes up.
That's what we're watching for. Who's with the ones?
They did grab another wide receiver, Keandre. There it is, Keandre Lambert Smith out of Auburn. Oronde Gadsden the 2nd, tight end out of Syracuse, which there's been a little buzz about Gadsden. I didn't know a lot about him, but he's considered a pass catching tight end.
I've grabbed him a bunch of places, and I tell you this is why primarily. He's in a great position to be the only tight end on that team that's worth a shit. I mean,
you got Will Dissly there. Let's give Dissly the respect he deserves,
and Tyler Conklin. If you want to argue over talent,
they do have Conk there. That's true.
But I mean, it's like these are guys that who should be superior. And like, while Dissly had a couple good games last season, I didn't feel he was what he has been in the past. We'll put it that way. Like, Yeah. And I just feel that this guy, I mean, I watched some of his tape and stuff when I saw where he was drafted and like the opportunity. He's not bad.
No, I mean, in 2022, he caught 61 passes for almost 1,000 yards in 6 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And then he had some injuries and stuff that he dealt with in 2023. Well, no, he was redshirt. It was injury. And then in 2024, he was first team All ACC. He had 73 receptions, 934 yards, 7 touchdowns. So, the dude's definitely got some juice.
Yeah.
And to get him where they got him, it's going to be interesting because, unlike running backs, late round tight ends can hit and stick because nobody wants nobody wants to draft. I don't care how good a tight end is. No one really wants to draft them early.
Yeah.
And they can get a guy if they can get a guy like this who's good, they're like, cool, I don't have to worry about tight end for a little while. I don't have to worry about
5 years.
I can spend the early round picks on the bigger positional talent.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and that's kind of why I've been going after him. I just feel in Dynasty, of course. I don't know. We'll see what comes up with redraft. But if I'm like in a tight end premium league that I play more than one tight end, I might stretch for him. In the 5th or 6th, 8th round or something. I
do try to come out of almost every rookie draft I'm in, whether it's a tight end premium or not, with a tight end on
with at least
because
and you can get him late right now.
You might in some league you can get him on waivers
off waivers. Yeah. I did in one
until
league.
Everyone hears this podcast and they're gonna be like, "Holy shit, these guys
grab him up." Yeah. But if you're in my draft, it is not unless Jake listens to this because he called me in the 5th round of playing and he's like, "Hey, this is what we're looking at. Who do I go after?" I'm like, "Look, if it was me, scroll down a little bit, go down to this 12th guy down here. This is who I would draft in the 5th round of a rookie draft." I'm like, look, even if you don't need it. Look, if this dude has 3 big games in the beginning of the season, trade block, put him out there, get rid of him. I mean,
hell, if he has 1,
that's what I'm saying. Like, just throw him out there.
All right, Terrence Ferguson was drafted by the Rams in the 1st round, or the 2nd round, I should say. That was their first pick. Look, they don't have a solid tight end there. Yeah. It was Higbee, but he didn't do jack shit last year. Davis Allen has not been anything, and holy shit, I can't believe I remember that name.
There was another one there too that didn't do shit either.
Yeah, Duty Browntown.
Oh, what was his name? No, I'm not.
I only know Davis Allen and Higbee.
Davis Allen's the rookie, or last year I think he was a rookie.
2 years ago.
Yeah, and then Higbee, but there was the I can see his face. Dude.
Oh wow, that's even crazier.
So bad.
But Terrence Ferguson, I think, has got some juice. He's definitely somebody I'm looking to grab. I mean, I'd be willing to depending on how the draft's looking in late seconds in rookie drafts to go grab him.
Yeah,
definitely in the 3rd
Parkinson,
round.
That's who it was. Parkinson.
Oh,
Colby Parkinson.
Okay, yeah.
That's he was there last year. He had a couple.
He was shaking
2 games.
It up.
Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, no, definitely, yeah. There's nobody to beat out there really either. That's definitely a good pick. So.
They also grabbed Jaquez Hunter out of Auburn. He's not anybody I think is going to be anything this year for fantasy, but Kyron Williams is on the last year of his deal. Blake Corum looks like a bust. Jaquez Hunter, is just somebody to keep an eye on.
Oh yeah.
He was pretty explosive in college, and so take that for what it is. And then in the 7th round, they took Kunata Mumpfield. Never heard of him, out of Pittsburgh. So Terrence Ferguson to me is the most interesting thing out of this, and Jaquez Ferguson is somebody, or Jaquez Hunter is somebody that I'm keeping an eye on.
Definitely, yeah.
But I also have Kyron in a lot of places, so I'm a little worried.
Well, grab the handcuff. I mean, I'm sure that a lot of people aren't looking at him anyway.
Yeah.
So,
all right, the Miami Dolphins. They didn't do a ton on offense. They did late round go after Ollie Gordon the 2nd in the 6th round out of Oklahoma State. He was considered somebody that might go sooner. Quinn Ewers, a lot of people are looking at that. Here's the thing about Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers came out of high school. He was the #1 prospect in the country. He was supposed to be the next great thing. And then in college, he wasn't as good as people thought he was.
Yeah.
He had moments where you're like, oh, that's why they thought he was good. And then the next play, you'd be like, and that's why they don't think he's as good anymore.
There he is.
So it's one of those guys that, first of all, he's going to be playing behind Tua if he sticks. He was a 7th round draft pick. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, let's say he makes the roster and they say he's Tua's backup. At that point, he becomes valuable. Because they've seen something in him, and we all know that Tua is just one big hit away from never playing football again. And the other thing is that like guys like this, who knows what clicks? Like there could be a coach, there's somebody that taps back into that talent that everyone saw when he was coming out of high school and thought that he was going to bring to college. Maybe he got into a bad coaching situation at Texas. Maybe it wasn't the offense that he liked to run. Maybe they didn't speak to him, coach him in a way that he understood things, and maybe somebody else can figure him out. I only say all this to say, in super flexes, not in single quarterback, don't even fucking worry about him single quarterback. In super flexes, if you have a taxi squad and he's there and you're deep in the draft, or it's only a 3-round draft and you're trying to figure out waivers, he's somebody maybe take a flyer on.
Especially if
wait
you
and
have
see how camp works out. If camp comes around and they're like, man, this dude sucks, then you drop him before the season starts, go grab somebody else, throw him in your taxi.
Well, I mean, even if, especially if you have Tua, in my opinion, I mean, we saw some quarterbacks start behind Tua that I didn't think was going to play in the NFL. So, I mean, you don't know what's going to happen if anything does happen injury wise. So,
for sure.
And it's always great to have a handcuff in a superflex league to your quarterback, especially if nobody else is looking at him.
Right.
So, I mean, I waste bench spots for stupid shit like that all the time because I'm so worried that, I'm one hit away from not being able to score 12 points next week because my quarterback's not, so I grab these stupid people like freaking Joe Flacco or, the backup to the backup, or not that deep, but you know what I mean, like that.
All right, let's move on to the Minnesota Vikings. Not a ton going on here. Only really one name worth mentioning, and that's Ty Felton out of Maryland. They picked him up in the 3rd round. Again, he's somebody that you can probably find on waivers, and if not, if you're deep in your rookie drafts, he's somebody maybe you take a flyer on. You got Addison, you obviously got Jefferson, but after that, there's not a ton, and there's somebody that's looking to take that 3rd wide receiver role. Now, to date, the 3rd wide receiver for the Minnesota Vikings hasn't had consistent fantasy viability, but if somebody becomes very explosive, then maybe they do. But if nothing else, he could be somebody that gets plugged in if somebody gets hurt. I know what you're doing. You're trying to look up what's his face. Yeah, he's probably still there, but he's not somebody that can't be beat out.
No, I'm trying to think because I know TJ Hawkinson come back. So there's that target wise as far as like, who they're looking. But I'm trying to think because they got rid of KJ Osborne. Yeah. And the other one that was there. So I'm trying to think who the 3 is because
I just dropped him off of a roster like yesterday and I can't think of his fucking name, but he's still there.
That was my curiosity.
Yeah, go look at their depth chart.
Naylor.
Yes, Jalen Naylor.
Naylor, that's who it is. Okay.
Yeah, and so
I knew there was, but I couldn't think of the name.
I still have him on a couple places because it's like you can't cut that guy.
Yeah,
but I dropped him because I needed to make space on another roster,
which makes sense. I don't think, like you said, he's had probably 2 weeks, and that was when everybody was injured.
Right. And so it's like you wonder, has the 3rd wide receiver for the Vikings never been fantasy viable consistently because of the system or because of the talent?
Yeah.
And so Felton's got some talent.
Yeah.
And if he steps up and he becomes, maybe all of a sudden we're like, holy crap, this guy's a good flex play and definitely somebody you want to have just in case, like I said, somebody goes down. So,
yeah. I mean, Hawkinson is essentially their 2-3 receiver. Right. Like in that viability, but especially since he came back with averaging 7 to 9 targets a game. So,
all right, this will be the last team we talk about tonight, and we'll try to hit the rest next week. But the next team on here is the New England Patriots. I liked what they did.
Yeah, they had a good draft in my opinion. Really
I thought TreVeyon Henderson was absolutely lovely. First of all, I never thought Ramondre Stevenson was good. The only thing that confuses me is they paid him.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do they see? And I don't know. But either way, they got TreVeyon Henderson in the 2nd. TreVeyon Henderson is a way better, in my estimation, than Ramondre Stevenson.
I'm super excited about TreVeyon Henderson coming to the NFL. I was a little bit upset he went to the Patriots, as that whole place where some positions go to die.
Some people thought he was better than Hamilton.
Hampton.
Hampton, sorry.
Yeah. And I just I was just a little
not
upset.
Hamilton the play, but Hampton the player.
Exactly, yeah. But I kind of was a little upset, like I said, going to the Patriots. But they are kind of, last couple of years they've been turning some things around.
Yeah, I think
you
so.
know, with what's his name, the quarterback, Drake May.
Drake May, yeah. Well,
it kind of,
didn't they fire their coach? They got new coaching in there this season.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
actually,
yeah,
I do.
We got a whole new regime.
Yeah.
I think that
things are fixing to kind of turn around, which is good for Henderson. Hopefully, you know, like I said, I've never been a Rhamondre fan. I don't have him on any team. That'll tell you, I've never really been a fan of him. So, but I do like the Henderson in the NFL, and I hope it transitions into the Patriots being good.
And they got Kyle Williams in the third round. I didn't know a ton about him until I went and looked at him. I thought he was this guy that drank Monster and punched walls.
Different Kyle.
Okay. But Kyle Williams looks like a really solid pick for the third round.
Yeah.
And here's a little secret if you're on Sleeper, at least right now. Kyle Williams is buried. Buried in ADP.
ADP, yeah.
There's a couple.
There's quite a few that are buried.
Yeah. So find him. You're going to have to scroll way down your wide receiver list. Find him, and you can get him. And like, I didn't even see him. I could have got him with we had a 4-round rookie draft. I could have got him like I had the third pick from the end of whatever that ninth. I had the ninth, or maybe it was the 8th in the 4th round. I didn't scroll down far enough, so I took Arroyo, the tight end from Seattle.
Yeah.
But had I known Kyle Williams there, so then after the draft, when everybody's putting in waivers and you have the trending, Kyle Williams is right there, and I'm like, how the hell is the 5th pick in the 3rd round wide receiver not get drafted in a fucking 4-round rookie draft? And so I put a bid in, but Terrell beat me out for it.
Yeah.
But either way, for anybody who's listening, right now, Kyle Williams is buried in your ADP, and he's somebody you can definitely get. If you've already completed your rookie drafts and you're like, man, I really need somebody to throw my taxi, he might be there. Now, if people are going off the trending, I'll be honest with you, I don't really like the trending in Sleeper.
Yeah, I don't care for it either. It kind of upsets my picks.
Well, it helps people who aren't as knowledgeable.
It helps them realize that they're looking for people that they need to listen to our podcast and hear Baker's Bottoms to learn the picks. But I go and I'm like, well, damn.
The trending thing really bothers me just because I like, you should have to put in the work.
Exactly.
to know who Kyle Williams is. But either way, I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I'd have seen him had he not been on trending, because I was like, I thought that when I seen him, I'm like, how the fuck did he not get drafted? And then I'm like, how the fuck did I miss him? So I was in another rookie draft. And I went and scrolled, and I was like, holy shit, I have to scroll this far down the wide receiver list to even find him.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But anyway, it's going to definitely change. I don't know why the ADP and Sleeper is so fucked up this year, but it is.
It's because a lot of people that don't know fantasy football are drafting right now.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people who were drafting best ball before the draft too, because a lot of the ADP is set by that.
Yeah, that'll upset the. You think they would show ADP for the style of league?
Well, it's hard when no one's been playing the style. You know, a lot of people, very few teams draft before the draft, so best ball kind of sets the market.
Yeah,
and then everyone else pulls from the market to set their ADPs to start the fantasy season.
Yeah,
and this year it was wildly, with wide receivers in particular, wildly fucked.
Yeah.
So like, I think Isaiah Bond at the beginning of like rookie drafts was like. Yeah, like Minoski took him in the 1st round.
Oh yeah,
because he ended up as like the top of the ADP list.
It was like the 4th wide receiver listed, but he's not even on a team.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
I still drafted him in 2 leagues though. So
he'll get picked up by somebody, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'd take a shot. It was like 5th round. I'm like, I trust the name. I'll go with this for right now. We'll see what happens.
Well, there it is. There's our first installment in our rookie review of the draft, or whatever the fuck I'm going to call it whenever I label this afterwards. But we'll finish the rest of it next week, one day, hopefully the beginning of the week, but if not, we'll try to knock it out towards the end of the week. But like I said before, if anything we say or do helps you get to that average place in your league, that means we did our job. Because if you finish average, Matt,
you don't lose.
You don't finish last. That's right.
Last. You don't. I mean, you might lose a little bit, but
you're definitely going to lose. You're not going to finish last.
You're definitely not finish last. Correct.
So I hope you guys have a good one out there. I hope you're having fun. For those of you that are in rookie drafts, and we will talk to you next week.
Later.
Holla.